What if the most terrifying force in Slavic folklore wasn't just a story, but a whisper of something real? Baba Yaga. The name alone tastes like rusted iron on the tongue. It slithers through centuries, dripping with bone-white terror, tangled in the roots of forgotten myths. But myths are never just myths, are they? They're warnings, coded messages scrawled in blood and ash. And this one? This one has survived too long to be ignored. Some say she is a witch. Others, a goddess rotting in exile. But the truth? The truth is a blade with no handle. Grip it, and you bleed. She lives in a house that walks on chicken legs, circling the fringes of the known world like a vulture waiting for something to die. The wind carries her name, but it never brings it back. The trees twist in her presence. The soil forgets the footprints of those who seek her out. They never leave. She does not lure. She does not coax. She waits. Those who find her do so out of desperation, out of foolishness, out of some primal hunger for power. And she gives. Always. But nothing in her world is free. She might hand you fire, wisdom, or the key to another life, but you will pay. With your flesh. With your sanity. With something you didn't even know you had to lose. Legends say she is one woman. They are wrong. She is three. She is many. A shifting shadow of crones, mothers, and things that defy shape. She devours time. She speaks in riddles that curdle the marrow. Some call her a test. Others, a death sentence wrapped in the smell of damp earth and rotting teeth. And still, she lingers. Her stories stretch like veins across Eastern Europe, pulsing through the soil, infecting lullabies, prayers, and whispered threats. The Christian church tried to bury her. The scholars tried to explain her. The fearful tried to forget her. None succeeded. She is still here, lurking in the cracks between folklore and something older. Something unspeakable. So ask yourself this: why has she never faded? Why has time failed to erase her? Because she is not meant to be forgotten. Because some things are too dangerous to fade. Because, perhaps, somewhere in the endless sprawl of blackened forests, a crooked hut still waits, turning, watching. And if it ever stops? Pray you never find out. The air is wrong here. Thick. Unmoving. It clings to the skin like something alive, whispering against the flesh with a voice too quiet to name. The trees loom, their branches twisting like fingers caught in agony, and between them, where the light should be, there is only shadow. Not the kind cast by the sun. Not the kind that comes and goes. This is something else. A darkness that breathes. The villagers never speak her name after nightfall. They barely utter it in daylight. It is a name made of sharp edges, a name that cuts when spoken aloud. Baba Yaga. 3 syllables, weighted with too many stories, too many warnings. They say she lives in a house that moves on giant, clawed feet, pacing the forest like a caged beast, restless, waiting. The wind carries the creak of its bones through the trees, a sound that doesn't fade but lingers, coiling in the ears like a forgotten scream. She is not a woman, not entirely. Not always. Some say she is ancient, older than the first story ever told. That she was there when the earth was young, watching, learning, becoming. Others claim she was born from the woods themselves, a spirit wrapped in bone and blood, a thing that cannot die because she was never meant to live. But who she is depends on who tells the tale. To some, she is a crone with iron teeth, gnashing and grinding, waiting for the foolish to step too close. To others, she is a giver of knowledge, a force that does not bend to mercy or malice but to the rules of something older, something no one remembers. The brave, or the desperate, seek her out. They step into the forest, the tree swallowing them whole, the ground turning soft as if reluctant to let them go. Some want answers. Others, power. Some simply wish to survive. She gives them what they ask for. Always. But never in the way they expect. A girl begs for beauty and finds her reflection stolen, her face erased from every mirror. A man pleads for wealth and wakes to a kingdom of gold that crumbles to dust in his hands. A mother cries for her child's life and pays the price with something worse than death. There are no gifts in her world. Only exchanges. She does not care for good or evil. She does not punish. She does not reward. She waits. She watches. She measures the weight of a soul like a butcher weighing meat, deciding what is worth keeping, what must be cut away. And when she speaks, her voice is the crackle of burning wood, the shifting of unseen things in the dark. She does not tell lies. Lies are a human thing, a mortal weakness. She only tells truths too jagged to swallow. The villagers say she can be tricked, but only by those who understand the game. Bring her an offering, a token of respect, bread, salt, something warm to drink. But do not come empty-handed. Do not step into her domain without purpose. She does not take kindly to trespassers, to the curious, to the ones who seek without knowing what they truly want. And if she does not like what she sees, she will smile. Not kindly. Not cruelly. Just a bare curve of lips, a moment stretched too long, a pause before something is decided. Then the door of her house swings open. And the forest forgets your name. The wind howls through the skeletal trees, a sound like laughter, harsh, guttural, too old to belong to anything human. The earth shifts beneath the fallen leaves, something stirring where no living thing should be. There is no path, no road, only the pull of something unseen, something ancient. It has been here longer than the trees, longer than the bones buried in the soil, longer than the first whisper of a name too dangerous to be spoken aloud. She was never just one. Before Baba Yaga had a name, before she had a face of gnashing teeth and hollowed eyes, she was a force that moved unseen, a shadow cast by gods who had long since turned to dust. The Slavs called her Vedma, the knower, the seer, the one who stood between worlds, one foot in the land of the living, the other dragging through the soil of the dead. She was the remnant of something older, a thread woven through time, stitched into the fabric of fear and reverence. The fire flickers in the darkness, an offering to something unseen. The old words are spoken in hushed tones, half-forgotten syllables pressed through clenched teeth. This is not prayer. This is negotiation. Give, or she will take. The Indo-European tribes knew her well, though they did not call her Baba Yaga. They knew her as the crone, the keeper of endings, the mother of death who swallowed men whole and spat out silence. Her echoes pulse through the veins of 100 myths, 1,000 whispered stories. The Greeks had their own, Hecate, the three-faced goddess of thresholds and shadows, who stood where the roads met and turned back no man who came seeking power. The Norse saw her in hell, the ruler of the dead whose gaze could strip the soul from the flesh. The Celts spoke of the Cailleach, the veiled one, whose breath could freeze rivers, whose footsteps shaped the mountains. But none were as wild as she was. None as untamed. The Slavs did not carve her into stone, did not build temples in her name. They felt her in the wind, in the whisper of branches against the sky, in the eyes of the old woman who sat at the edge of the village, watching, waiting. She was a deity that had been forgotten but never left, an echo of the mother who once birthed the world and now lingers at its edges, waiting for the time when she will be needed again. The fire burns lower. The wind shifts. Something in the woods moves, just beyond the reach of the dying light. The stories say she is a witch, a hag who lures the foolish into her hut of bones and grinds their bodies into dust. But those stories are young, thin, lacking the weight of truth. The truth is heavier. The truth is older. She was never just one. She was always many. The name is spoken in hushed voices, muttered between clenched teeth, scratched into the bark of trees where no one dares to tread. It carries the weight of generations, thick with the stench of fear and reverence. It is not a name, it is a warning. A whisper through the trees, a breath against the back of the neck. Baba. The word is heavy, swollen with age, a sound that clings to the throat like something half-swallowed. It means grandmother, old woman, crone, but it is not soft. It is not gentle. It is the voice of the ancient, the withered hand that stirs the pot of fate. The kind of old that does not mean frail but eternal. The kind of old that has seen the world rot and grow back again. Yaga. The syllable bites, raw and jagged, like the scrape of bone against stone. Horror. Sickness. A fever that burns too hot and leaves the body hollow. Some say it means pain, others say it is the sound of something slipping between the trees, too quick to see, too real to be imagined. In some tongues, it means rage, in others, it means nothing at all, just a growl, just a breath, just the thing that waits in the dark when no one is looking. Baba Yaga. The name should not be said aloud, and yet it must be. It has been spoken in countless tongues, shifting like smoke, changing but never fading. In Russia, in Ukraine, in Poland, in the forgotten corners of the world where the trees grow too thick and the sky seems too far away, she is called by different names, but she is always the same. Some call her Jezebaba, her name curled like a snarl, thick with venom. Some call her Jedza, a name that hisses through clenched teeth, spat from the mouths of those who still believe she is watching. In some stories, she is one, in others, she is three. In some, she is many, her name stretching out like roots beneath the soil, tangled and unseen. She has been called a witch, a spirit, a goddess whose bones were buried before memory began. Some say her name is older than the first fire lit by human hands. Some say it was never meant to be spoken by mortal tongues. But still, the name lingers, waiting, breathing, watching. She has never needed temples or statues, never asked for worship or praise. The only offering she requires is fear. The only shrine she needs is the one built in the space between a heartbeat and a breath, in the silence that stretches too long, in the dark that presses against the eyelids when sleep will not come. The name is not just a name. It is a call, a promise, a reminder. It is the rustling in the trees. It is the shadow that does not belong. It is the knowing, unspoken but understood, that something waits just beyond the firelight. Something that has been here before. Something that will always be. The trees part without a sound, their branches stretching like brittle fingers, as if recoiling from what stands beyond them. The air is thick, unmoving, as though the forest itself is holding its breath. And then, a groan, a low, shuddering creak of wood and bone, of something too ancient to die. The ground trembles, not with the weight of something heavy, but with the movement of something wrong. It should not be alive. The hut moves. It shifts, swaying like a thing that listens, a thing that watches. It stands on legs that should belong to something else, long, gnarled bird limbs, sinew stretched tight over splintering bone. The claws dig into the soil, restless, waiting. The wood of the hut itself is scarred, blackened in places as if kissed by fire, but never consumed. It breathes, in its own way. The wind does not move it, and yet it sways. The door, a gaping maw of rotting wood, is waiting to open. To step toward it is to know that the earth no longer belongs to you. The rules bend here. The ground beneath your feet feels too thin, as though something beneath it is listening. Watching. The hut does not wait for you to come closer. It does not care for your choices. The legs creak, then lift, and the whole thing moves, not with the clumsiness of something unnatural, but with the eerie grace of something that has been moving for longer than time itself. It shifts through the trees like a hunter. The bones in its legs click as it steps, the talons scraping against rock and root. It should not be fast. It should not be quiet. But it is. Where it walks, the world frays at the edges. This is not a place, not in the way that villages or forests or mountains are places. This is something in between. A crack between what is and what should be. The hut does not belong here, and yet it belongs everywhere. It is a door, a threshold, a passage into something neither living nor dead. Some say it is a shaman's dwelling, a house that carries the soul between worlds. That those who enter do not return as they were, if they return at all. The bones scattered at the threshold, too large to be animal, too small to be safe, say that there is truth in that. The shamans of old knew. They saw it in their trances, in the spaces where flesh was left behind and the spirit wandered free. The hut was the vessel, the means by which they passed from one world into the next, where gods and monsters whispered with the same voice. Some say they built their own homes in its image, raising them on stilts, imitating the thing that had always been watching. But they built theirs to stay still. Baba Yaga's hut is never still. No one can say where it will be next. A child might see it in a clearing at dusk, standing silent as if it has always been there. A hunter might turn the wrong way through the trees and find himself staring at the clawed feet, the empty doorway, the space inside that seems too dark, too deep. A traveler may pass through a place where the trees are broken, as if something impossibly large had walked there before. And if the door swings open? If the shadows inside shift, just slightly? There is no going back. The wind does not move. The trees stand still. Even the night, thick and black, seems to hold its breath. The world waits. And then, a sound, low, grinding, like the earth itself groaning under something unnatural. A shadow shifts against the sky, something neither beast nor bird. Something wrong. A scraping, a hollow scrape that claws its way through the silence. Not the beat of wings. Not the rush of air through feathers. No, this is something older, something heavier. The mortar drifts through the night like a stone ripped from the earth, defying gravity, defying sense. It does not glide. It does not soar. It moves as if it is forcing itself forward, carving its way through the unseen with sheer will. And inside her, Baba Yaga. She does not grip the sides for balance. She does not fear falling. The pestle in her hand moves in slow, deliberate strokes, grinding against the air as if it is something solid. Each push shoves the mortar forward, not flying but scraping its way through the spaces between. The air bends around it, whispering, wailing. She sweeps the ground with her broom as she moves, erasing her path, sealing the door behind her. No trail, no trace. Those who see her pass might tell the tale, but no one will follow. No one will ever find her unless she wills it. This is no ordinary flight. It is movement through something else entirely. The shamans knew. The witches, the ones who walked in the spaces where the world frayed at the edges, they understood. The mortar is not a vessel, it is a tool, a grinding stone for flesh, for spirit, for the boundary between the living and the dead. To ride it is to wield it, to press the world beneath its weight, to crush what separates one thing from another. She does not ride a horse. She does not need a beast to carry her. She is her own force, her own power. The mortar, the pestle, the broom, each a piece of the same craft, the same hunger. To grind, to move, to erase. The pagans whispered her name in the dark. They knew what she was. A creature of transformation, of endings and beginnings. The mortar is the cauldron of the sky, the womb of the storm. To ride it is to step beyond what is known, to press into the unknown with grinding force. She flies, but it is not flight. It is something worse. Something heavier. And if she comes for you, if you hear that scraping in the night, that slow, steady crush of something breaking the air itself, run. Run, though it will do you no good. The sky is hers. The night belongs to her. And she is always watching. The breath of the forest stills. A hush falls, thick and suffocating, pressing against the skin like damp earth. The trees do not sway. The wind refuses to whisper. Even the creatures of the night shrink into the shadows, their eyes wide, their bodies coiled with unspoken terror. Something is coming. A crack. A splintering of wood. A slow, heavy step, crunching through brittle leaves like the snapping of bones. Then another. And another. She is near. A stench creeps through the air, rot, damp soil, the sharp tang of iron. The kind of scent that lingers in forgotten places, in graves left untended, in wounds that fester beneath unclean bandages. It clings to the tongue, seeps into the lungs. It warns, it threatens. Then, movement. Not the graceful glide of a phantom, nor the silent slither of something that belongs to the night. No, this is wrong. Heavy, gnarled fingers curl around the edge of a twisted tree, nails like rusted daggers biting into the bark. A breath, ragged, wet, wheezing through unseen gaps. And then, she steps forward. The crooked nose leads first, jutting like a beak, like something meant for tearing, for piercing, for sniffing out fear in the dark. Twisted, hooked, uneven, it drags shadows across her face, exaggerating the horror of what lies beneath. The skin, pale, leathery, stretched too thin over jagged cheekbones, craggy as the roots beneath the earth. Lines carved deep, not by age, but by something worse. By hunger. By time spent too long in places no living thing should tread. But the teeth. The teeth gleam in the darkness, catching the faintest slivers of light, reflecting them back in wicked, jagged glints. Not bone. Not something meant to crumble with age. These are iron. Forged, sharpened, meant to cut, meant to bite. No lips conceal them fully, no soft flesh smooths their menace. They are always visible, a warning in the shape of a grin. A promise of ruin. These are not the teeth of a woman, not the teeth of a thing that has ever known kindness or warmth. They belong to something that does not chew, does not savor. They tear. They shred. They break the body down, grinding sinew from bone, splintering marrow with the patience of something that has waited too long for its next meal. And she speaks. The voice is worse than the silence. Worse than the step, the breath, the scent of decay that lingers around her like a second skin. It grates, it cracks, it drips with something vile. It does not belong in this world. It should not exist. Yet it does. She moves, slow and deliberate, the iron clicking together with every shift of her jaw, each syllable a scrape of metal against metal. Her nose twitches, sensing, tasting, hungering. She does not chase. She does not need to. Those who see her do not run fast enough. Those who hear her voice cannot unhear it. And those who glimpse the iron gleam of her smile, they do not last long enough to scream. The door stands before you, crooked and wrong. It wasn't there a moment ago, but now it looms, thick and ancient, the wood so dark it swallows the light. The air tightens, pressing in, thick with something unseen, something waiting. It isn't a door meant to be knocked on. It isn't a door meant to be opened. And yet, it is the only way forward. The silence stretches, suffocates. Then, scraping. From the other side, nails, or something worse, drag along the wood, slow and deliberate, testing, teasing. The door shudders as if something vast and breathing presses against it, waiting for permission to enter or for a fool to force their way through. A gust of wind, sharp and wet, slithers through the cracks, carrying the scent of damp earth, of firewood turned to ash, of something metallic, bitter, wrong. The handle is ice against your palm. Your breath stumbles in your throat. The door creaks open. Inside, the darkness isn't empty. It stirs, thick and living, curling around the bones that hang from the rafters, around the flickering glow of a fire that gives no warmth. Shadows stretch unnaturally, creeping, twisting, whispering. And then she is there. Not standing. Not sitting. Just there. Her presence fills the space, warping it, bending the very air to her will. The crooked nose, sharp and hooked, casts jagged shapes against the firelight. Her iron teeth glint, stained, waiting. Her eyes, pale, sunken, see through you, past flesh, past bone, to something you didn't know could be seen. You are late, she rasps, voice brittle as dried leaves crushed underfoot. There is no chair for you. No invitation. Just the weight of her stare, the weight of the threshold beneath your feet. You are not in the world you once knew, not yet beyond it. You are between. She shifts, slow and deliberate, the clack of her teeth a warning, a promise. The air grows colder. The walls seem to shrink. Her bony fingers drum against the table, yellowed nails clicking against the wood, a sound like distant footsteps on a forest floor. You came for something, she says. It isn't a question. Your tongue feels heavy, useless. The fire hisses, spitting embers that never touch the ground. The skulls hanging above sway though there is no wind. She leans forward, slow, inexorable, like something ancient waking from a dream. You think you want to pass through, she whispers, but have you bled for it? The threshold beneath you groans, the wood shifting, alive. The floor is no longer solid, it is something else, something endless, stretching in both directions. One way leads back, but not to the same life. The other leads forward, but to what, you cannot say. You do not cross for free, she murmurs, her iron teeth gleaming in the flickering light. Not without losing something. Not without proving you are worthy. The walls breathe. The darkness tightens. You are standing at the edge of something vast, something older than time, something that does not care for mercy. And Baba Yaga is waiting. The forest swallows the light, choking it between twisted branches that claw at the sky. The trees are too still. The wind does not breathe here. The air hangs, thick, waiting. You step forward. The ground shifts beneath your weight, damp and soft, as if something underneath is listening, watching. You are not alone. You have never been alone. Ahead, the clearing stretches wide, unnatural in its symmetry. The three houses loom, their shapes wrong, their roofs slanted at angles no builder would dare attempt. They are the color of rot, of things left too long in the wet darkness beneath the earth. Smoke curls from each crooked chimney, thick and black, as if the houses themselves are exhaling. Then, a sound. Not one voice. Not two. Three. Laughter. It does not belong here. It does not belong anywhere. The air trembles with it, a sharp, cracking cackle that splinters into the bones of the trees. It is not a sound meant for the living. And then they step forward. Three figures, identical and yet not. Their spines curve like branches weighed down with decay. Their noses, long and hooked, point downward, the tips almost touching their sagging lips. Their iron teeth gleam in the sickly light, stained with things better left unspoken. Their fingers, long and clawed, twitch against their skirts, nails curling like roots hungry for soil. Three sisters. Three Baba Yagas. You are lost, one whispers, voice brittle as dried leaves crushed underfoot. You are late, another hisses, her breath thick with the scent of burnt things. You are ours, the third hums, and her smile is the worst of all. They do not blink. They do not move. They wait. You have seen monsters before, creatures that howl and bite, things that tear and feast. But these are not monsters. They are older. They do not need to chase. They do not need to hunger. They are the ones who decide who crosses, who suffers, who disappears. They have seen 1,000 before you. They will see 1,000 after. One lifts a hand, her nails curling inward. The ground beneath you tightens. It no longer feels like earth. Another tilts her head, listening. Her eyes roll back, white and sightless, seeing something beyond, something ahead, something final. The third only smiles. You have come for something, she murmurs. But do you know what it costs? The wind starts again, circling the clearing in a slow, hollow wail. The trees shudder. The houses creak. The laughter is gone. The air waits. The three do not move. They do not need to. They already own you. The forest swallows her. The path behind her is gone, vanished, erased as if it never existed. The trees, blackened and twisted, close in, their skeletal limbs tangled above her head, strangling what little light remains. The air is thick with the scent of damp rot and something else, something older, something watching. Vasilisa grips the tiny doll in her hands, its wooden face smooth, its black bead eyes unblinking. It is warm. Warmer than it should be. Her fingers tremble, knuckles white as she presses it close. She is alone. No. She is not alone. The house stands ahead, towering, grotesque, perched on giant chicken legs that shift and scrape against the earth. Its bones creak, the skulls on its fence grinning with empty sockets, their hollow gaze drilling into her. The wind moans through their gaping jaws. A door slams open. She does not breathe. The scent of burning meat, of iron and charred wood, spills from within. Then, she hears it, the scrape. Claw on wood. Bone on bone. The sound of something ancient, something hungry. And then she sees her. Baba Yaga. The crone leans forward, peering from the doorway. Her nose, long and hooked, twitches at the air like a beast scenting prey. Her iron teeth gleam, sharpened, waiting. The folds of her skin sag like melted wax, her fingers long and curling like the roots of a strangled tree. You have come, she rasps, voice thick as swamp water. Vasiliza's heart stammers. Her tongue is lead. She swallows, nods. Speak, child, the crone hisses, slithering forward. Why have you dared to step into my forest? The words nearly die in her throat. The trees lean closer, listening. The skulls grin wider. The doll in her hands grows hotter. My stepmother sent me, she finally breathes. We have no fire. A silence. Then, laughter. Low, rumbling, rising. No fire. Baba Yaga croons, stepping into the dim light. Then you shall earn it. The tasks come like knives, sharp and unrelenting. The sweeping, the sorting, the endless labor under the crone's unblinking stare. Ash settles into her skin, her arms ache, but it is not the work that gnaws at her, it is the watching. Baba Yaga sees everything. Every hesitation. Every breath. The doll saves her. At night, when the house groans and the wind howls through the trees, the doll stirs in her hands, its tiny wooden limbs moving, its beady eyes flashing in the dark. The grains are sorted, the tasks completed. But the unease grows. Baba Yaga is testing her. The crone watches with something almost like approval, something sharp and knowing in her gaze. But Vasiliza knows, the wrong answer, the wrong step, and she will be nothing more than bones in the fence. Then, the moment comes. Baba Yaga leans close, her breath hot, foul, thick with decay. How did you complete my tasks, little girl? Vasiliza's blood turns to ice. She grips the doll tighter. The truth hovers on her tongue, but she knows that truth is not always meant for the likes of Baba Yaga. With my mother's blessing, she whispers. A crack. A shift. A pause in the air so sudden, so absolute, it feels as if the forest itself has stopped breathing. Then, Baba Yaga snarls. Her iron teeth snap together, her clawed hands twitch. Be gone from my sight, cursed child. The skull with burning eyes is thrust into her hands, its fire crackling, pulsing, alive. She does not question it. She runs. The trees do not stop her. The path uncoils beneath her feet. The house does not move. The laughter fades. And Baba Yaga watches as the girl disappears into the darkness, a smile curving over her iron teeth. The horse falters. Its breath steams in the frozen air, nostrils flaring, muscles trembling beneath Ivan Tsarevica's grip. The trees around him are not trees, they are things pretending to be trees, their twisted limbs reaching, shifting, listening. The silence is unbearable. It weighs on his chest, thick and cloying, pressing into his ribs. He should not be here. Every instinct in his body screams for him to turn back. But the road is gone. The forest has swallowed it whole. Ahead, something moves. A shadow, long and crooked, spilling across the snow like a black wound. Ivan's pulse hammers. He grips the reins tighter, urging his horse forward. The beast resists, ears pinned back, hooves stamping against the frozen ground. Then, laughter. It seeps from the darkness, thick and cruel, curling around him like smoke. The sound slithers into his bones, into his very breath. And then he sees her. The house is not a house, it is a thing, living, breathing, shifting on massive chicken legs. It groans and creaks, bones grinding, its roof sagging like the back of an ancient beast. Skulls sit atop its fence, their empty sockets burning with sickly light. The door yawns open. She stands in the threshold, too tall, too thin, her head nearly scraping the rotting beams above her. Her iron teeth glint in the firelight. Her eyes, dark as storm-racked water, lock onto his. So, Baba Yaga rasps, her voice like dried leaves crushed underfoot. "You dare to come here?" Ivan swings down from his horse, his boots crunching against the frost. He will not cower. He cannot cower. "My father's kingdom is in peril," he says, his voice steady despite the chill creeping up his spine. "I need your wisdom." Her lips curl into something that might be a smile. It is not. "Then you will earn it," she hisses. The first test comes before he has even drawn breath. "Fetch me the fire from the well," she says, motioning to the woods behind her. Ivan does not hesitate. He walks, straight-backed, into the blackness. The well is there, waiting for him, a gaping maw in the earth. The fire inside is alive, snarling, shifting, its glow licking at the edges like hungry tongues. It watches him. The bucket creaks as he lowers it. The rope burns under his fingers. The fire laughs. It does not want to be tamed. Ivan grits his teeth. One breath. Two. Then, he pulls. The fire screams, thrashing as it rises, slamming against the wooden walls of the bucket. His arms shake. His skin blisters. But he does not let go. By the time he returns, the bucket is nearly too hot to hold. The fire rages inside, furious. Baba Yaga watches, her gaze slow and knowing. "Not bad," she murmurs. The second test is crueler. 3 black birds circle above the house, their wings silent as shadows. Their eyes gleam with something too sharp, too intelligent. "My servants are hungry," Baba Yaga says, tossing him a handful of seeds. "Feed them. But not too much. Not too little. Just enough." The birds land in front of him, their talons clicking against the wood. Their hunger is endless. Ivan kneels, his hand steady as he lets the seeds trickle between his fingers. The birds watch, calculating, waiting. One wrong move, one grain too many, and they will tear him apart. His heartbeat slows. He measures. He decides. When the last seed falls, the birds blink. Their feathers ruffle, their talons scrape the earth, then they lift into the sky, vanishing into the darkness. Baba Yaga grins, her iron teeth flashing. "Interesting," she muses. The third test is the worst. She hands him a bone. Just a bone, smooth and white, hollow inside. "Fill it with sound," she whispers. His breath catches. This is impossible. The forest is silent, the trees watching. The wind is dead. Ivan clenches his jaw. Then, he remembers. His mother's lullabies, soft in the dark. His father's war cries, sharp as steel. The laughter of his brothers, the whistle of an arrow, the roar of the river in spring. He lifts the bone to his lips. And he sings. The note hums through the air, trembling, rising, growing. The bone vibrates in his hands, filling, swelling, holding the sound like a vessel holds water. When he stops, the silence does not return. The forest breathes again. Baba Yaga stares at him, something unreadable flickering in her eyes. Then, she nods. "You may go," she says. The house groans. The skulls flicker. The trees shudder. A path unfolds before him, straight and clear, as if it had always been there. He does not hesitate. He does not look back. But he feels it. Her eyes, watching. Always watching. The feather burns in his hand. Not like ordinary fire, this flame does not consume. It glows, sears, sings. A living ember, pulsing with something ancient, something alive. The golden crimson flicker, twisting in the night air, setting the darkness ablaze with light that is not light. The firebird's feather. And now it knows him. Ivan's breath is ragged, his fingers locked around the delicate plume, his heartbeat pounding in his throat. He had stolen from something that should never be stolen from. He had taken a fragment of magic too wild, too fierce to be owned. The trees lean closer, whispering in voices too old to name. The wind shifts. The night is no longer empty. The firebird is coming. The sky trembles. A sound, low, shuddering, builds in the distance. Not a cry. Not a scream. A warning. It shakes the earth beneath him, rattles the marrow in his bones. The ground quivers as something vast unfurls above the trees, blotting out the stars. It moves like a storm, like a wildfire with wings. A great shadow, edged in gold. The air hums with its fury. He runs. Branches tear at his skin, roots coil around his ankles, the wind howls in his ears. The feather burns brighter, as if calling to the thing that hunts him. He should throw it away, drop it, bury it, let the night swallow it whole. But he can't. It is not just a feather. It is a promise. A curse. A weight he does not yet understand. And so he runs. Through the thickening dark, through the tangled breath of the forest. The trees press close, suffocating, ancient, watching. The path shifts beneath his feet, twisting, changing, leading him. The air thickens, the scent of smoke and damp earth seeping into his lungs. Then, a door. A house stands before him, perched atop massive, clawed legs. It sways, shifting, settling with a creak like an old beast waking from a dream. Skulls line its fence, their hollow sockets burning with cold, hungry fire. And in the doorway, she waits. Baba Yaga. Her eyes are black pits, endless, knowing. Her iron teeth glint as she tilts her head, listening to the sound of his labored breath. You've done something foolish, boy. Her voice grinds like rusted metal, sinking into the marrow of his bones. He cannot answer. He cannot breathe. The feather pulses in his palm, heat licking up his wrist, and her gaze flickers to it. Ah, she murmurs, her mouth twisting. So it has chosen you. The sky trembles. A great whoosh of air shudders through the trees, bending them backward as the firebird descends. It is not a bird. Not truly. It is something older than the bones of the world. Its wings stretch too far, its eyes burn too bright. Light spills from its feathers, golden embers drifting through the air, turning the ground to molten fire. Baba Yaga does not flinch. She steps forward, gnarled fingers lifting. The house groans, shifting behind her, its massive legs digging into the earth. The firebird lands, the earth shuddering beneath the weight of it. Its eyes, piercing, endless, lock onto Ivan. He cannot move. The air is heavy with something more than heat. It is the weight of 1,000 lifetimes, 1,000 stolen feathers, 1,000 foolish men who thought they could hold fire in their hands and walk away unburned. The firebird speaks without words. You cannot keep what is not yours. The feather blazes, searing into his flesh, filling his veins with fire. He gasps, choking on something too vast to name, something that coils around his heart and pulls. Baba Yaga watches, unmoving. You asked for its favor, she says softly. Did you think it would not come with a price? He cannot answer. His body is breaking, shifting, burning. The feather, so beautiful, so brilliant, consumes him. The firebird watches, waiting. Ivan's knees buckle. The world sways. And then, Baba Yaga moves. Her hands snap forward, fingers curling into the air like talons. A sound, low and shivering, spills from her lips, twisting the night into something sharp, something wrong. The firebird rears back, golden flames crackling along its wings. She speaks in a tongue older than kings, older than empires, a language not meant for human throats. The fire dims. The air thickens. The weight of the firebird's gaze shifts, flickering between them. Then, silence. It does not leave. It does not surrender. But it waits. Baba Yaga's eyes gleam. Not yet, she murmurs. He is still mine. The firebird does not move. The ember light in its gaze flickers, unreadable, inhuman. And then, with a final, lingering glance, it spreads its wings. The light bursts, flooding the night, swallowing the trees, the house, the world itself. When the fire fades, the feather is gone. Ivan slumps forward, his breath ragged, his skin seared and marked. The echo of something vast lingers in his chest, coiled tight around his ribs. Baba Yaga watches him, something like amusement curling at the edges of her mouth. "You are not the first," she says. "You will not be the last." The wind stirs. The trees sigh. The firebird is gone. But its mark will never fade. The iron hinges wail like dying things. The door does not open. It shudders. Wood, old and swollen with time, fights against the force that moves it. Something unseen, something patient. Then, silence. Thick. Waiting. Breathing. A single footstep presses into the frozen earth. Heavy. Calculated. The air trembles as he enters. Koshchei the Deathless. He does not walk. He arrives. A shadow stretching into the light, a presence heavier than the weight of 1,000 corpses. The fire in the hearth flickers and shrinks, recoiling from something it cannot burn. The walls of the hut shift, leaning away. Even the wind outside falls still, unwilling to carry the scent of him. He does not blink. His eyes, hollow wells of night, find her across the room. His mouth does not move, but the words press against the walls, slithering into the bones of the house, sinking into the marrow of the world itself. It has been a long time. Baba Yaga does not lift her head. Her iron nails scrape against the rim of her mortar, a sound too sharp, too knowing. The air between them coils, thick with things unsaid. The house shifts beneath her, massive legs digging into the earth, restless. "Not long enough," she mutters. A slow smile splits Koshchei's face. The skin does not move naturally, it stretches, remembers how to form human expression. A mockery of warmth. A reminder that his flesh is not his own. "Not anymore." "You still hate me, then?" A dry laugh rattles from Baba Yaga's throat, something between amusement and warning. She lifts her head, and her gaze meets his, black pits against black pits, two abysses staring into each other. "Hate," she breathes. "I do not waste my bones on such small things." He steps closer. The floor does not creak. The air does not stir. He is weightless, empty, and yet the world bends around him, straining beneath the unnatural pull of his existence. "Then why do you fear me?" The fire dies. The darkness presses. The skulls lining the walls flicker with cold, blue light, their hollow eyes watching, whispering. The house listens. Baba Yaga does not move. "I do not fear you," she says. "I fear what is left of you." The smile twists. His fingers flex, the tendon shifting beneath his skin like something not meant to be there. "And what is left of me, old witch?" She tilts her head. The iron of her teeth glints as she speaks. "A man who cannot die. A curse wrapped in rotting flesh. A thing that forgot how to be human long before it ever sought to live forever." For a single, breathless moment, the house waits. Then, laughter. Low, hollow, ancient. It spills from Koshchei's throat like something broken, something that has not been used in centuries. The sound curdles the air, warps the very shape of the night. And yet, he breathes, "I am still here." His hands tighten at his sides. The fabric of his robe shifts, moving in ways it should not, as though something beneath the cloth stirs. "You have always underestimated me, Baba Yaga. Even when I was flesh. Even when I bled like a man." Her grip tightens around the rim of her mortar. The house groans beneath them, unsettled, waiting for what must come next. "And you have always overestimated yourself." His gaze flickers, sharp, amused. "Do I?" The walls shrink. The darkness breathes. A sound, low, rustling, moves through the room. Something moves beneath his skin. Not muscle. Not bone. Something else. Something alive. Baba Yaga watches, unmoving. Her fingers twitch. The air coils tighter, charged with something ancient, something fragile. A thread stretched thin. Koshchei steps closer. "You call me a curse," he murmurs, voice low, almost tender. "But curses do not live. Curses do not think. Curses do not stand before you, bargaining for your favor." The words slither between them, a poison laced with honey. Baba Yaga smiles. "A man who hides his soul in the bones of the world is not alive, Koshchei." His eyes flicker. Something flickers behind them. "Then what am I?" Her nails scrape against the mortar once more. Slow. Measured. A thing that refuses to die. For a moment, neither of them move. The air itself tightens, waiting. Then, Koshchei exhales. Not a breath. Not truly. A sound that remembers breath, something forced, something unnatural. "And if I asked you to help me?" The words slither through the air, twisting, coiling, binding. The fire crackles, barely a whisper now, its glow a sickly, dying thing. Baba Yaga tilts her head. "Help you?" Koshchei's fingers twitch. "To end this." The house shudders. For the first time since he entered, something shifts in Baba Yaga's expression. Not shock. Not horror. Something older. Something colder. "You would undo what you have become." Koshchei does not answer. He does not need to. The weight of the words clings to the air, heavy, unspoken. For the first time in centuries, Baba Yaga watches Koshchei the Deathless with something almost like pity. But only almost. Her fingers tighten around the mortar. The skulls flicker. The shadows press closer. The house breathes. "And what," she murmurs, voice soft, "makes you think you deserve an end?" The walls listen. The darkness listens. Koshchei does not move. He only waits. The bones rattle in the wind. Strung together, hollow and brittle, they clack against each other like old teeth gnashing in hunger. They dangle from the gnarled branches of the blackened trees, swaying, whispering secrets only the dead should know. The wind catches them, making them sing. A sickly, brittle melody that carries through the endless forest. The scent of iron lingers here. The children do not notice it at first. They are too tired, too lost, their legs weak from wandering in circles. Their breath comes in ragged gulps, their hands clasped together as if the thinness of their fingers could shield them from what lurks beyond the trees. They are too small to understand what it means when the birds stop singing, when the air thickens with a silence that watches. Then they see it. A hut, standing on crooked chicken legs, shifting, restless. The door grins open. Not wide. Just enough. A sliver of darkness yawning between the warped wood, as if something inside is waiting. One child pulls the other back. A feeling, wrong, presses against the air, sinking into their skin. But hunger gnaws at their bellies, a pain sharper than fear. And the scent, sweet, warm, safe, slips from the open doorway, wrapping around them like a mother's embrace. It smells like roasted meat. Like fresh bread. Like something safe. It is a lie. The moment their foot touches the threshold, the house shudders. The wind moans through the trees, shaking the bones on their strings. The fire inside flares, casting long, twisting shadows that move when they should not. And then she speaks. "Come in, little ones." Her voice is smoke and iron. It scrapes against the walls, coils around their spines. The doorway is too dark, the air too thick, and yet, there she stands. Baba Yaga. Her face is carved from nightmares. A hooked nose too long, shadowing lips stretched wide with the glint of iron teeth. Her fingers, too long, too gnarled, curl in invitation. Her nails scrape against the wooden frame, a sound like knives sharpening. You must be hungry. She does not ask. She knows. The children do not move. The girl grips her brother's arm, nails digging into his skin, but he does not flinch. His stomach clenches with hunger, his body betraying him. His lips part, his small voice barely a whisper. We have nothing to pay. A pause. Then, laughter. Low, guttural, a sound like something breaking apart and reforming. Oh, little dove. Baba Yaga's head tilts, the movement unnatural, the crack of bone beneath her skin too loud. I ask for nothing. A single step forward, and the fire behind her grows. It should have cast her shadow across the walls, but it does not. The light bends around her, afraid. Come in. Warm yourselves. Eat. Her tongue flicks over the iron edge of her teeth. You are so small. The girl pulls her brother back. Her heart pounds, a frantic thing against her ribs. The floorboards of the house creak, stretching, aching. A hand grips the edge of the doorframe, a hand, but not a hand. The fingers are too thin, the knuckles bulging, the veins pulsing beneath sallow skin. A hand that has held too many things. Baba Yaga does not move from the doorway. She does not need to. The air inside the house shifts. A whisper. Faint. A thread of sound barely there, curling between the flames. Run. The girl's breath catches. Her brother does not hear it. He is staring into the warmth, into the promise of food, of comfort, of safety. He takes a step forward. The girl grips his wrist. No. The wind howls. The house groans. The bones hanging from the trees clatter. Baba Yaga watches. Her lips do not move, but the fire behind her grins. You will not leave. The door does not slam shut, it snaps, the wood warping like flesh, curling inward, sealing them in. The walls breathe. The floor trembles beneath their feet. The shadows stretch. The children run. They race through the house, breathless, the scent of meat now thick with rot, the warmth now clawing at their skin like hungry fingers. The walls bend, twist, reshape themselves. The door is gone. The room stretches, shifts, a maze of corridors that should not be there. A scraping sound. The girl turns. Baba Yaga does not chase. She does not need to. She moves slowly, deliberately, her nails scraping the walls as she passes. The sound slithers through the air, past their ears, into their bones. Do you know, she murmurs, voice thick with amusement, how sweet children taste when they beg. The brother stumbles. The girl drags him forward. A room looms ahead, an oven, gaping and black, the heat curling out in thick waves. The walls laugh. Hands, small, skeletal, wrong, press against the wood, pushing through, reaching. The whispers return, louder, desperate, pleading. Run. She is running. The boy cries out, a sharp yelp, a pull. The girl whirls. Baba Yaga's hand grips his shoulder, fingers sinking too deep, skin stretching around bone. The girl does not think. She bites. Teeth sink into ancient flesh, into something that tastes of dirt and rot and centuries of things buried beneath the forest floor. Baba Yaga screeches. The sound shatters the air, a cry older than language itself. The walls recoil, the floor lurches. The grip loosens. The children run. This time, the house lets them. The door spits them out, flinging them into the cold night, the wind wrapping around them like a mother's arms. They do not stop. Behind them, the house creaks. The door is open again, just a sliver, just enough. And from within, the sound of laughter. Low. Waiting. Hunger never sleeps. The stars are afraid of her. They flicker when she moves. A ripple shudders through the night sky, like ink spreading across paper. The moon shrinks behind a veil of clouds. The sun, hidden beyond the horizon, waits, silent, watching. But she is older than the sun. Older than the stars. Baba Yaga stands at the edge of the world, where the earth splits open and time curls upon itself like a dying thing. The wind does not touch her. The cold does not dare bite her skin. Her breath is smoke, her nails blackened from touching things that do not belong to mortals. She lifts her hand. A single thread of silver dangles from her fingers. Thin as a spider's web, strong as fate itself. It stretches into the void, disappearing into the sky above. She tugs. The stars shudder. Some say she weaves the fabric of the heavens, spinning light into order, unraveling it when the world displeases her. Others whisper that she owns the sun, that it is not a celestial body at all, but a caged beast that she looses every morning and calls back every night. And the moon? The moon owes her a debt. She lifts her chin, eyes like burning coals reflecting the flicker of the stars above. They know her name. They have always known her name. The sun once thought itself untouchable, a thing of power, a ruler of the heavens. It blazed with arrogance, believing that it could chase away all shadows. But there are places where the sun cannot reach, places where its light is swallowed whole. Places where she walks. It defied her once. The memory tastes bitter on her tongue, ancient and burning. It had refused to set, stretching the day too long, searing the land, turning forests to dust. The people wept, their crops withering under the endless glare. Baba Yaga had watched from her hut, unimpressed. Enough, she had whispered, her voice slithering into the air like a living thing. But the sun did not listen. So she took it. With a snap of her fingers, she plucked it from the sky like one plucks an insect from the air. It screamed, oh, how it screamed, writhing and thrashing in her hands, its fire licking at her skin but leaving no mark. The world plunged into darkness. The people cried out, blind, fumbling through an endless night. She let them suffer. For 1 day. For 2. On the 3rd day, the sun begged. Release me, it sobbed, its fire dimming, flickering. I will set when I am told. I will rise when I am called. Only then did she loosen her grip, tossing it back into the sky with a flick of her wrist. It has never dared disobey her since. But the moon? Ah, the moon is trickier. It slips between light and shadow, weaving through the night like a thief. It does not burn, does not roar with power, it is silent, clever. It watches. It listens. It, too, once defied her. It had hidden something from her, tucking it away in its cold, silver glow, refusing to yield. A soul. A secret. A stolen thing. Baba Yaga had known the moment it happened, had felt the shift in the air, the whisper of something slipping through her fingers. She had reached for the moon then, stretching her hand toward the sky, fingers curling in command. It had shuddered, but it had not bowed. For 3 nights, they had waged their quiet war. Clouds thickened. The stars blinked out, one by one. The tides rose in fury. The night trembled. But the moon would not give her what she wanted. So she cursed it. Now, it fades, waxes and wanes, never whole for long. It withers, disappears into darkness, only to claw its way back, struggling to remain. It will never be steady. Never be constant. Never know peace. Even now, it lingers above her, half hidden, its glow weak and shivering. Baba Yaga smiles. The stars watch, frozen in place. They do not blink. They do not speak. They, too, belong to her. Some say she hung them in the sky herself, pressing them into the heavens like nails driven into wood. Some say she can snuff them out with a single breath, swallowing their light into the blackness of her lungs. They are small things. Flickering, fragile things. And she is so much older. She lets the silver thread slip through her fingers, releasing it back into the sky. The stars do not move. They wait, breathless, terrified. She turns away. The night exhales. The moon shifts, hesitant, as if waiting for her to change her mind. The sun, still hidden beyond the horizon, does not move. Baba Yaga steps forward, into the waiting dark. And the stars, trembling, keep their distance. The water is waiting. It does not ripple. It does not breathe. It holds its silence like a grave holds its dead. The surface is black, glassy, deeper than sight, deeper than thought. It waits for the one who will touch it, for the hand that will break its perfect stillness. A single drop will decide everything. Baba Yaga stands at the edge, her feet sinking into the damp earth. The air smells of rot and something older than decay, something forgotten. Her fingers, gnarled and long, hover just above the surface. The water knows her. It remembers. It has tasted her before. 2 vials hang from her belt, one dark as a starless sky, the other pale as bone. The waters of death. The waters of life. She alone knows their song. She alone decides who drinks and who drowns. A shadow stirs in the distance, broken, crawling, begging. He is dying. His breath rattles in his chest, his ribs jutting out like the remains of a sunken ship. His fingers claw the dirt, dragging his useless body forward. His blood marks the path behind him, soaking into the hungry ground. He should not have come here. But love is a terrible thing. His brother is dead. A sword in the gut, the blood cooling too fast. His body left in the open air, eyes unseeing, mouth slack with unfinished words. The boy was young, too young, a prince in a war he did not understand. And this man, this broken, desperate man, has crawled through hell to reach Baba Yaga's waters, to steal back what was taken from him. She watches him, unblinking. He speaks her name like a prayer, like a curse. His voice cracks. He knows what she is. What she can do. Please. She steps closer. The bones tied to her dress clatter like laughter. The waters of life shimmer in their vial, soft, glowing, deceptive. The waters of death lie still, thick and knowing. One will heal. The other will unmake. She kneels, her ancient fingers brushing the sweat from his brow. His skin burns. His pulse staggers. He does not have long. She tilts her head, listening. Not to him. To the water. It sings to her, whispers in voices older than time, asking her the question it always asks. What is he worth? She could ask for gold. She could ask for his soul. She could ask for the color of his eyes, the warmth of his hands, the sound of his laughter. Baba Yaga trades in things that cannot be stolen back. But tonight, she does not bargain. She takes a step into the water. It parts for her, does not touch her skin. It fears her. She fills her palm with the white water, the one that glows like stolen moonlight. The one that breathes life into the lifeless. His eyes widen. His breath quickens. Hope is the cruelest trick of all. She kneels beside him. He opens his mouth to thank her, too soon. She lifts her other hand. Dark, thick, sluggish. The water of death coats her fingers, dripping like oil, seeping into the ground. Her voice is a rusted blade, sharp and cold. You are whole. You are living. And yet you ask for more. His hands tremble. My brother, Baba Yaga's laughter is a thing without warmth. The ground shudders. The trees groan. The water at her feet rides. She does not speak of the ones who came before him. The kings. The thieves. The lovers. The fools. All of them asking for the same thing. All of them thinking they could cheat her. She lets the dark water slip from her fingers. A single drop lands on the earth. It hisses. It spreads. His lips part in horror. The water of life can mend. But the water of death takes everything. His skin pales. His bones ache. He is younger, smaller, less. He does not understand yet. He will. His brother is dead. Dead. Not sleeping. Not waiting. Not lost. And death does not owe him anything. Baba Yaga stands. The vials return to her belt. The water's still. The man kneels in the dirt, his hands gripping the empty space where his brother's body should be. His voice is a hollow thing. She watches him crumble. The wind shifts. The night grows heavy. The water waits, as it always has, as it always will. Somewhere, in the distance, someone else is dying. And soon, their footsteps will lead them here. The trees do not move, but they are watching. The air is thick, heavy with something that does not belong to this world. The silence is alive, pressing against the skin, seeping into the bones. The forest is not asleep. It is waiting. And then, a breath. Low, rattling, ancient. The wind does not come from the sky, nor does it carry the scent of open air. It rolls from the earth itself, exhaling through twisted roots and hollowed-out trees, the whisper of something old and untamed. Baba Yaga walks through her woods. The ground does not dare break beneath her. The leaves curl inward as she passes. The very air around her bends, trembling like prey beneath a predator's gaze. She is the mother of these woods, but there is no comfort in her embrace. A storm builds overhead, thick clouds clawing across the sky, stealing the moonlight, swallowing the stars. The wind sharpens. The trees groan. The crows scatter in a violent flurry of black wings. A woman is running. She is young. She is lost. She is foolish. Her breath shatters against the cold air, her feet bleeding from the roots that tear at her ankles. She does not know that the forest has no exit, not for those it chooses to keep. She should have never entered Baba Yaga's domain. Lightning tears across the sky. The thunder does not follow, it looms, waiting, listening. The trees stretch taller, their twisted limbs curling toward her, closing in. And then, in the chaos, there is stillness. Baba Yaga stands before her. Her hair is the color of dead leaves, her eyes burning like embers in a dying fire. The lines of her face are carved from time itself, not aged, not wrinkled, weathered. She is the storm and the calm. She is the wildness that does not bow, the roots that crack stone, the fire that devours and gives warmth all the same. The woman falls to her knees. She does not know what to say. There are no prayers for Baba Yaga. No offerings to soften her heart. Because she is the forest. She is the storm. And there is no mercy in nature. Baba Yaga tilts her head. The trees echo the movement, a slow, deliberate shift. Her voice is the growl of distant thunder. You want to live. The woman nods too quickly, her throat tight, her pulse a wild thing. Baba Yaga kneels. Her fingers press into the earth, and the ground trembles at her touch. Roots twist, slithering up her arms, recognizing her as their mother. She closes her eyes. She listens. Not to the woman. To the forest. To the storm. She does not decide who lives. The land does. The wind does. The water does. A raindrop strikes the earth. Then another. Then 1,000. The sky opens, the storm roaring to life, drowning the world in chaos. The trees sway, cracking and groaning, and the wind howls through the endless dark. Baba Yaga stands. Her hands are empty. The woman is not chosen. The storm does not grant favors. The forest does not make bargains. Lightning strikes the earth just behind her, splitting a tree in two, fire licking at the rain-soaked bark. The woman does not scream. There is no breath left in her lungs for fear. Baba Yaga turns. She does not need to speak. The forest has already decided. The trees close in. The wind carries a single, desperate sob before swallowing it whole. And somewhere, far beyond the storm, a single flower blooms. The candle is burning low. The flame flickers, twisting, bending, as if something unseen is breathing against it. The room is small, choked with the scent of old wood and damp stone. A single chair creaks under the weight of something heavy. Something ancient. She is sitting in the corner. Not moving. Not speaking. Watching. Her fingers are like twisted roots, curling over the armrest, motionless yet alive. Her breath is slow, deliberate. The air is thick, unmoving, as though the walls themselves are afraid to shift in her presence. A girl kneels before her. Young, trembling, barely more than a child. The final traces of innocence still cling to her like dust on forgotten relics. She has been sent here, to the house of the Old One. The one the villagers whisper about but never name. Baba Yaga. The girl is clutching something in her hands. A bundle wrapped in cloth, damp with sweat. She does not know if it is fear or desperation that has driven her here, but it does not matter. The Old One has no patience for things as fragile as hope. Speak. The voice is not loud, but it carries weight. It drags through the silence like a blade scraping against stone. The girl swallows. She does not want to look up, but she must. And there she is. The crone. Her skin is leather stretched over sharp bones, etched with the passage of centuries. Eyes like burning embers, half buried in the hollows of her face. Her lips, thin and cracked, curl at the edges, amused by the foolishness before her. Please, the girl whispers, her voice breaking, raw with unspent tears. Tell me what to do. The firelight shifts. Shadows stretch, twisting along the walls, bending to the rhythm of something unseen. The Old One leans forward. Her breath is warm, but it carries the chill of the grave. You ask for wisdom, Baba Yaga says. But wisdom is the weight of things you cannot carry. The girl does not understand. She is still young. She still believes in fairness. In kindness. She does not yet know that the world does not soften itself for trembling hands. The crone sees this. She has seen it 1,000 times before. The maiden stands at the edge, blind to the abyss before her. The mother clings to life, desperate to keep what she knows will one day be taken. But the crone, she knows. She knows that time does not pause. That the wheel never stops turning. She does not comfort. She does not shield. She lets the storm break. She lets the fire burn. Because only through the ashes can something new take shape. Baba Yaga reaches out, her fingers brushing against the girl's cheek. The touch is colder than winter's breath. You will not like my answer, she murmurs. The girl stiffens. Her fingers tighten around the bundle in her hands. She has lost something. A child. A love. A life that was stolen too soon. She does not say it. She does not have to. The crone already knows. She pulls back, settling once more into the chair, the wood groaning beneath her as if it, too, fears her weight. Grief is a thing that grows, Baba Yaga says, her voice rasping like dry leaves. It will spread its roots into your bones if you let it. But hear me, girl, nothing ever truly dies. The wind howls outside. The trees press against the window pane, gnarled fingers scraping against the glass. The fire burns lower. The room shrinks into darkness. Baba Yaga does not move. She has seen too many lifetimes. Too many broken hearts, too many desperate souls grasping for things they were never meant to hold. The girl stares at the bundle in her hands, her fingers trembling. And then, slowly, she lets go. The cloth slips. The weight is lifted. The fire does not flicker. The walls do not sigh. But Baba Yaga smiles. The forest is watching. The trees stand like silent sentinels, their limbs reaching, their roots gripping the earth with a hunger that never fades. The wind does not move here. It coils around the gnarled branches like a creature waiting to strike. The path is old, worn into the soil by the feet of those who came before, and never returned. At the edge of this place, a man lingers. He is young, strong, his hands calloused from labor, his jaw set with the arrogance of those who have never known true fear. His father told him stories of the witch in the woods, of the hag who devoured men and cursed women who dared to stray too far from their place. He does not believe. He steps forward. The air thickens. The silence presses against him, heavier than iron, thicker than the night. His breath comes sharp, his pulse steady, until the first whisper slithers through the trees. A laugh. Low. Cracking. Amused. He turns, but the woods have shifted. The path behind him is gone. The sky is swallowed by twisted branches. The very ground beneath his feet feels different, softer, as if something unseen stirs just beneath the surface. And then, her voice. You hesitate. It is not a question. It is not a taunt. It is a fact. A simple, cold truth that wraps around his spine like a tightening noose. He knows who she is. She is the one they fear. The one they warn their daughters about. The one they curse beneath their breath while clutching their holy symbols. Baba Yaga. The witch. The nightmare. The thing that does not kneel, does not bend, does not obey. She emerges from the darkness, not hunched, not frail, but towering. Her presence alone is enough to crush the breath from his lungs. She is wrapped in the scent of damp earth, of burning herbs, of the very bones of the forest. Her hair is tangled with brambles, her eyes smoldering coals set in a face that is neither young nor old, neither beautiful nor monstrous. She is power. And power is a thing men have long feared when they cannot hold it in their fists. He clenches his jaw, straightens his spine. Which, he says, because it is the only thing he can say. She smiles. It is a terrible thing. Yes, she murmurs, stepping closer. And what are you? A hunter? A warrior? A ruler? The words die in his throat. Because here, in this place, before this woman, he is nothing. She does not kneel before kings. She does not soften under the weight of their words. She does not shrink when they spit venom, when they clutch their swords, when they twist laws and faith and fire in a desperate attempt to break her. They have burned women like her before. Tied them to stakes. Called them wicked. Named them unnatural for knowing the things they should not know, for speaking the words they should not speak, for holding power not given to them by men's hands. But Baba Yaga does not burn. She has stood at the edge of the world and watched it turn to ash. She has walked through the ruins of empires that swore she would kneel. She has swallowed their curses, worn their hatred like a second skin, and still she remains. The man shudders, the weight of something unseen pressing against his bones. She steps closer, and the very air bends to her will. You came seeking something, she says, and her voice is the rustling of leaves, the crackling of fire, the howl of a storm before it breaks. Speak it. He does not know what to say. Because now, standing before her, he understands the truth. She is not the monster they warned him about. She is older than their fears. Stronger than their stories. More terrible than their prayers can protect them from. She is the shadow in the woods, the storm in the sky, the fire that does not ask permission before it consumes. She is not waiting for his words. She is watching. And in that moment, as the weight of her gaze pins him to the earth, he understands why they fear her. Not because she is cruel. Not because she is wicked. But because she does not answer to them. The door is open, but the darkness inside does not welcome. It waits. A boy stands at the threshold, his breath tight in his chest, his hands trembling at his sides. Behind him, the world he once knew stretches in a brittle line of trees and sky. Before him, there is only her house, looming on its great chicken legs, shifting restlessly, as though impatient. He is here because he must be. The hunger in his village has gnawed at their ribs for too long. The fields are barren, the rivers sting with death. The elders whispered of her, the one who decides. The one who gives. The one who takes. They did not send him. They did not have to. The weight of his father's hollow eyes, his mother's frail hands, he had no choice. He takes a step. The house lowers itself, the bones of its foundation creaking, bending, bowing as if sniffing him out. The threshold grows larger, darker. The scent of damp wood, of ash and something older, something sour, something living curls into his lungs. And then, her voice. Do you know what you ask? It does not come from inside the house. It does not come from behind him. It fills the air, seeps into the marrow of his bones. It is not loud, nor soft, but steady, a voice that has spoken before the world knew how to listen. The boy swallows, his throat raw, his knees weak. He does not run. She emerges. Not from the door, not from the trees, but from the very air itself. One moment there is emptiness, the next, she is there. She is not young, nor is she old. Her back does not bend, her steps do not shuffle. Her hair coils in thick, wiry strands, her hand stained with the touch of things long since dead. Her eyes are the color of the storm before it breaks, her skin the earth before it swallows the fallen. She smiles. It is not kind. Tell me, boy, she breathes, stepping closer. Do you come to beg? Or do you come to trade? His mouth is dry, his tongue useless. He knows the stories. She does not give without taking. She does not take without reason. Some enter her house and leave with life itself cradled in their hands. Others step through that door and are never seen again, their bones left for the wind to scatter. It is not kindness that decides. It is not cruelty. It is her. The boy's voice is a whisper when it finally comes. We are starving. She tilts her head, considering. And what will you offer? The house groans behind her, shifting again, eager. He has nothing. No gold. No jewels. No treasures. Only the weight of his people's suffering and the breath still left in his body. I have myself, he says. A sharp wind cuts through the trees. The air tightens. The shadows twist. She laughs, low, slow, cruelly amused. So do they all. He flinches. Her nails trace the air between them, and though she does not touch him, his skin crawls, his heart clenches, his knees weaken. Do you think I hunger for flesh? She murmurs. Do you think I feast on fools who stumble into my woods, begging for scraps of mercy? He does not answer. Some come, she continues, and I grant them power. Some come, and I grant them death. Some come, and I take what is already owed. She circles him now, slow, measured, her bare feet soundless on the earth. Do you know why some leave my house with their hands full? She asks. He shakes his head. Her lips curl. Because they listen. She lifts her hand, a single, knotted finger pointing toward the open door. Go inside, she commands. His pulse slams against his ribs. Find what you seek. The air thickens. The trees seem to lean in, their gnarled fingers stretching toward him. The house creaks again, the doorway gaping like a waiting mouth. He steps forward, one foot, then another. He does not know if he will leave. But he will enter. The earth shudders. The bones of the forest tremble. A sound, not of wind, not of water, but of something alive, rips through the night. And then it moves. A house, ancient and breathing, lurches forward, its great chicken legs clawing at the frozen ground, talons sinking into the dirt, leaving gashes where roots once lay. The walls groan, the windows flicker like blinking eyes. The trees recoil, their branches curling away from the unnatural thing that should not exist, yet does. It does not walk as things of this world do. It lurches, staggers, then stills, waiting, listening, sensing. The wind dares not howl. The sky holds its breath. And then, just as suddenly as it came to life, it stops. Its massive legs fold beneath it, bending, settling, as though some unseen command has spoken. The door creaks open with a sound like a dying gasp, revealing nothing but a yawning blackness inside. It does not belong to the world of men. It does not belong to the world of the dead. It exists between them. A figure stands at its threshold now, barely more than a shadow, but its presence crushes the air, fills the space with something that does not belong to time. She does not need to step forward for the world to feel her weight. Baba Yaga has been waiting. The house does not simply shelter her. It is an extension of her will. It moves as she commands, shifts as she desires. Those who seek her must find it first, but only if it allows itself to be found. Some call it a prison. Some call it a refuge. Both are right. For those who stand before its crooked door, there are only two possibilities, life or death. A traveler approaches, heart pounding in his chest, feet heavy with the weight of the unknown. He has been searching for days, his body torn by branches, his throat raw from hunger. But now, he is here. The house watches. The legs twitch. The bones of the walls hum with expectation. A test. A threshold. A gate between what was and what will be. He swallows hard, staring into the blackness beyond the door. He does not know what waits inside. The house knows. And it will decide. The candle flickers, but there is no wind. The shadows stretch, crawling across the wooden walls, warping into shapes that do not belong to this world. A whisper, soft, brittle, hungry, slithers through the air. It does not come from the old woman hunched over the cauldron. It comes from the fire itself. The room is alive. The air crackles with something ancient, malevolent, waiting. A bundle of bones tied with sinew dangles from the ceiling, swaying though no hands have touched it. The stew in the pot swirls in the wrong direction, thick and dark, stirring itself, its scent curling around the room like invisible fingers. And then, a knock at the door. She lifts her head. She knows who stands there. A boy. Small, trembling, smelling of sweat and fear. His knuckles rest against the wood, frozen in hesitation. He has been warned, do not seek her, do not ask for her gifts. But desperation is louder than reason, and the world outside has given him no kindness. She waits. The house waits. The fire hisses. Another knock. The door swings open without a touch. The boy gasps but does not move. He cannot. The air inside is thick, pushing against his chest, pressing into his throat. The old woman watches. Her eyes are not the eyes of mortals. Speak, she rasps. He swallows. His voice is barely more than a whisper. I need your magic. The laugh that follows does not belong to just one voice. It is layered, fractured, as if the room itself is laughing with her. As if something else inside her skin is laughing too. Magic. He asks for magic. Does he know what he has asked? Magic is not a gift. It is a debt. She moves with a slowness that is not weakness, but something else, a predator's patience. Her fingers, gnarled like roots, reach into the folds of her robe. When she pulls them out, they are not empty. A small, wooden doll, no larger than a finger. Eyes carved too wide. A mouth that should not be smiling. Take it, she says. The boy hesitates. She does not. Her fingers uncurl, and the doll moves, jerks, twitches, then crawls up his arm as though it has been waiting for him all along. He screams. Too late. The deal is done. Her magic does not bless. It binds. He will carry it now. It will whisper to him when he is alone. It will turn its little head when no one else is watching. It will murmur secrets into his dreams, some false, some true, but all leading him exactly where she wants him to go. Some say Baba Yaga's magic is a curse. Others say it is a test. They are both right. And when the boy stumbles away, clutching his arm, shivering though the night is warm, the old woman smiles, a smile not meant for human eyes. The house hums. The fire hisses. The shadows stretch again. Waiting. The bones rattle in the wind. They are not tied to a post, nor nailed to a door. They stand on their own, scattered, half buried in the dirt like forgotten remnants of something that never fully died. The skulls gleam, hollow-eyed, their silent grins stretched impossibly wide. They watch. The forest is not silent. It never is. The trees whisper with voices not their own, their twisted branches forming clawed hands, reaching, waiting. Somewhere in the distance, a low creaking hums through the air, the sound of something moving on chicken legs. And then, the gate swings open. A girl stands at the threshold, her breath uneven, her hands curled into fists. She has been told stories, warned of the witch with iron teeth, the one who eats those who fail. Yet, she has come. She does not know if she will leave. The house looms before her, its door already cracked open as if expecting her. Smoke curls from the crooked chimney, dark and thick, carrying the scent of something bitter, something ancient, something not meant for mortal lungs. She steps forward. The air shifts. The skulls flicker with eerie light, casting shadows that stretch too far. The forest behind her is gone. There is no turning back. Inside, the air is thick with the scent of herbs and decay. Dried roots hang from the ceiling, jars filled with nameless things line the shelves. The floor creaks under her hesitant steps. A single candle flickers on the wooden table, its flame too still, too watchful. And there she sits. Baba Yaga. The old woman does not move at first. She is just a shape in the shadows, hunched, gnarled, more bone than flesh, her fingers curled like talons over the rim of an iron pot. Her breath rasps through the air, slow, measured. Waiting. You came. The words slither out, rusted and sharp. The girl swallows, her throat dry. I seek wisdom. A sound rumbles from the old woman's chest, something between a laugh and a growl. Do you? The fire crackles. The shadows shift. Then tell me, what will you give? The girl stiffens. The stories said nothing of this. They spoke of riddles, of impossible tasks, of running until her lungs burned. They did not speak of giving. Baba Yaga's grin is slow, deliberate, showing teeth that do not belong to any human mouth. Everything has a price, she whispers. The girl's hands tremble. She has nothing to give. No gold, no trinkets, no treasures hidden in her pockets. But Baba Yaga is not asking for things that can be touched. The old woman leans forward, and the candlelight catches in her eyes. Not human eyes. Eyes that have seen things no mortal should. Will you give your fear? The girl's breath catches. Will you give your comfort? Her fingers dig into her palms. Will you give your old self? A pulse of something cold, electric, terrible surges through her. She understands. This is not a lesson. This is a death. Not of flesh, but of everything she was before she stepped through the gate. The girl lifts her chin. Yes. For the first time, Baba Yaga moves. Her fingers stretch, gnarled and knotted like roots, reaching toward the girl's face. And she sees. Visions flood through her, blinding and brutal. The weight of centuries pressing into her skull. The screams of those who have come before, the echoes of those who will come after. The taste of earth and blood and fire, the knowledge that nothing is given without something taken. Her knees buckle. Her mind splinters. And when she gasps, her breath comes out different. She is changed. Baba Yaga watches, her mouth curling into something almost like satisfaction. Good, she murmurs. The candle flickers. The shadows stretch. The house waits for the next. The wind is wrong. It does not whistle or howl, it moans, dragging through the trees like something searching. It carries the scent of damp earth, of rotting leaves, of something older than time itself. The forest is still, but not empty. Nothing is ever empty. A girl stands at the edge, fists clenched at her sides. The path before her is swallowed in shadow, twisting through trees that should not exist. Her breath is shallow, her heartbeat a frantic drum against her ribs. She was told to come here. She was told there is no way out except through. She steps forward. The trees shudder. Something unseen watches. Her feet sink into the mud, into the veins of the earth where bones sleep. The path narrows, twists, shifts beneath her weight. She does not know if she is walking forward or if the world around her is changing, swallowing her in slow, deliberate gulps. The house rises ahead, waiting. It knows she is coming. It does not creak, does not sway, does not breathe. It waits. A skull lantern flickers to life, casting a too bright, too cold glow. The door swings open before she knocks. Inside, the air is thick with the scent of burnt herbs, of blood, of something almost human but not quite. The walls seem to pulse, the wooden beams shifting under an unseen breath. Baba Yaga is there. Her fingers are curled around the rim of a blackened cauldron, her nails yellowed and ridged like old bone. Her teeth glint like iron under the dim light. Her gaze does not pierce, it buries, sinking into the girl's skin, through her flesh, into the marrow beneath. "You wish to live," the old woman rasps. The girl opens her mouth, but no words come. Baba Yaga's lips stretch into something that is not a smile. "Then first, you must die." The fire flares. The shadows stretch. The girl's knees buckle, the air ripped from her lungs as something pulls at her. She is sinking. No, she is dissolving. Her skin peels away, her flesh melts, her bones crumble into the dirt. She feels it all. The tearing, the unraveling, the awful realization that she is no longer herself, no longer anything at all. But she is not gone. She exists in the cracks of the floor, in the damp rot of the wood, in the breath of the fire. She is scattered, pulled apart, unmade. And yet, she waits. The old woman stirs the cauldron. Her voice is a whisper, a snarl, a lullaby that scrapes against the girl's broken form. Not all who die are reborn. The words slither through the darkness, through the spaces where she once existed. Not all who seek transformation survive. The girl aches. She is not ready to be nothing. Something shifts. From the blackened ruin of her body, something moves. A heartbeat, a single, ragged pulse. The dirt trembles, the wood groans, the fire bends toward the shape she is becoming. Baba Yaga watches, unblinking. "You crawl back," she murmurs. "Good." The girl rises. She is not as she was before. The world around her is sharper, the air thicker, the weight of the house pressing against her skull like an iron hand. The girl knows things now, things she was never meant to know. She remembers dying. She remembers being made again. Her breath is ragged, her limbs shaking, but she stands. Baba Yaga grins. "You have been swallowed and spit back out," she says. "Now tell me, what will you do with it?" The candle flickers. The skull lanterns burn. The forest waits for the next. The wind is thick with the scent of smoke and something older, something forgotten. The trees stand like silent witnesses, their branches curling toward the sky, clawing at the last light of day. The ground pulses beneath bare feet, alive, waiting. The drum begins. A slow, steady thrum that creeps into the bones, tightening its grip with every beat. The body is still, but the mind is slipping, untethering. The edges of the world blur. Shapes stretch and distort. The trees breathe. Shadows fold in on themselves, shifting, watching. A whisper rides the wind. Soft. Hunger beneath the surface. The air turns brittle. The drum quickens. The pulse in the throat matches its pace. The body sways, limbs too heavy, too light, floating and sinking all at once. Then, the fall. No ground beneath. No sky above. Just motion. Just descent. The world collapses inward. The bones of the forest are gone. The weight of the body is gone. There is only the breath, the beat, the raw, thrumming energy that swells and twists. And there, her house. It moves. It sees. The skulls lining the fence flicker to life, their hollow eyes burning with something that is not fire. The house groans, its chicken legs shifting, claws digging into the earth. The door swings open. It does not creak. It does not invite. It expects. Inside, it is darker than night, but the darkness is not empty. It hums. It watches. It knows. A shape emerges. Bent, gnarled, sharp where it should be soft. Eyes that pierce without light. Teeth meant for breaking bone. Baba Yaga does not speak. She does not have to. The silence demands. Knees buckle. The body is heavy again, pulled toward the floor as if the weight of everything, every sin, every fear, every doubt, has wrapped itself around the flesh. Breath is shallow. Heartbeat, ragged. You want something, she rasps. A truth so sharp it cuts before it is understood. You wish to pass through the veil, she continues, voice scraping like stones dragged through dust. You wish to walk the roads where the living do not tread. She circles. The scent of old things, burnt herbs, dried blood clings to her skin. Do you know the cost? The mouth opens, but the throat refuses to shape words. Baba Yaga smiles. It is not comfort. It is not kindness. It is a blade pressed to the soul, testing its edge. Then, movement. She raises a hand, gnarled fingers curling, twisting the air as if pulling unseen threads. The ground splits. The walls of the house melt, warping, stretching. The world bends, folding in on itself. And then, nothing. No weight. No breath. Just darkness. Endless. Consuming. Silent. A scream forms but never escapes. Then, light. Blinding, raw, searing through the skin, the soul, the mind. Memories rip free. Visions flash and shatter. A river of faces, voices, names never spoken aloud. Hands reaching from the void, grasping, pleading, vanishing. 1,000 lives. 1,000 deaths. And at the center, her. Baba Yaga, watching. Waiting. Measuring. She speaks, but the words are not words. They are felt. They are known. Some are swallowed whole by the abyss. Some are reborn. Which will you be? The fire burns. The skulls glow. The body is kneeling again, breath ragged, lungs screaming for air. The house stands as it did before, but nothing is the same. Baba Yaga does not smile now. You have seen, she says. A statement. A sentence. She turns, back hunched, limbs shifting, something more than human, something that never was human at all. She vanishes into the shadows. The door swings open. The wind howls. The world waits for what will step through. The wind slashes through the trees, biting, relentless. The night is thick, heavy with whispers that coil between the branches, pressing against the skin like unseen fingers. Somewhere in the blackness, an owl shrieks, a sound sharp enough to split bone. A child huddles by the fire, knees drawn tight to his chest. His grandmother's voice is low, raw with warning. She does not tell the tale loudly. That would be foolish. Even here, behind bolted doors, the walls have ears. She walks at the edge of the world, she murmurs. Not dead. Not alive. Something in between. The fire flickers. Shadows leap, stretching long fingers across the wooden floor. They say she smells you before she sees you. Flesh, fear, sin, she knows them all. The child shudders. The old woman stirs the coals, her gnarled fingers trembling, though not from the cold. She is the hunger in the woods, she whispers. The wind that howls when no storm is near. The room is silent. Even the fire holds its breath. Some call her a witch. The old woman's eyes gleam like embers. Others, something worse. Outside, the trees sway. A creak in the wood. A crackle in the wind. No one dares speak her name. But they all know it. Baba Yaga. Not a woman. Not a spirit. A force. A thing that lingers at the edges of thought, waiting. Watching. Judging. The tribes whisper of her, the way they whisper of sickness, of war, of things too terrible to fight. She is not a bedtime story. She is a warning. They say she devours. But not just flesh. The soul. The will. The certainty of who you are before you step into her domain. They say her house stands on chicken legs, shifting, never in one place for long. Those who go seeking her never find her. She finds them. And when she does, there is no mercy. She tests. She strips away the lies men tell themselves, peels back the flesh of pride and arrogance, leaves nothing but the raw, shaking truth of what they are beneath. She is neither good nor evil. She simply is. But that does not mean she is kind. Men have tried to chain her story. Priests spit her name as a curse. Lords and warriors cast her as a villain, a monster to be feared, a remnant of a world they wish to bury beneath new gods and new laws. But she does not fade. She does not bow. She does not die. She waits. And when the cold is too sharp, when the night stretches too long, when the forests swallow men whole and spit out their bones, they remember. They always remember. The air is thick with the scent of burning wood, but beneath it, something else lingers. Something foul. Something that reeks of scorched flesh and old, forgotten things buried beneath centuries of silence. A bell tolls in the distance. Slow. Heavy. A sound meant to drive the darkness back. But some things do not fear bells. Some things are the darkness. The old statues are gone. The sacred groves are cut down. The rivers no longer hold their names. But she lingers. She waits in the shadows of firelit sermons, behind the frightened whispers of mothers pressing crosses to their children's foreheads. She was once a goddess. A guardian of thresholds, of life and death, of the twisting path between. Women called to her in labor, warriors in battle, the lost in the woods. They left offerings, not out of fear, but respect. Now, the men in black robes speak her name with venom. Their voices drip with condemnation. Witch. Demon. Corrupter of souls. She has been cast down, dragged from the sacred into the profane, her wisdom twisted into wickedness. Her power, unholy. Her presence, a stain upon the world that must be cleansed. The priests call upon their god to banish her. But she does not go. She changes. The stories shift. Her house of bones and spinning mortar is no longer the dwelling of an ancient guide, it is a prison, a place of horror where the wicked are devoured. The silver thread of fate she once spun is now a noose, tightening around those who dare to seek her out. She was once the giver of trials. Now she is a warning. A shadow at the edges of holy light, proof of what happens to those who stray. The fire rises. The bells ring louder. Still, she remains. In the trembling hands of old women who remember her name but dare not speak it. In the hush of wind through the trees, whispering secrets no priest can burn away. She is not gone. She is waiting. The ink is thick. Heavy. Black as the abyss that swallows the foolish and the lost. The quill trembles in the writer's hand, hovering above the yellowed parchment, unsure does he dare? The candle flickers, its flame thin and nervous. Shadows crawl along the walls, twisting, stretching, moving when they should not. Something watches. Something waits. A name is about to be written. Baba Yaga. She seeps into the words like a sickness, like a ghost slipping through the cracks of a forgotten house. She does not die. She does not fade. No matter how the stories are told, no matter whose trembling hands write them, she endures. She appears in riddles, in half-truths, in the muttered warnings of old women who spit over their shoulders and refuse to say her name after dark. She is the hunchbacked hag, the eater of children, the nightmare waiting at the edge of the forest. But she is also more. The Russian poets knew this. The writers, the artists, they felt her breath on the back of their necks as they worked, her bony fingers pressing against their ribs. They wrote her into their tales, but never tamed her. They could not. Pushkin let her whisper through his lines, her presence lurking in the rhythm of old verses, a shadow beneath the grandeur of his tales. Gogol felt her laughter in the winds that howled across the cold Russian plains. Afanasiev collected her, hoarded her, trapped her within the brittle pages of his folklore, but she never stayed locked away. She was not just a villain, not just a monster. She was a force. The forest witch, yes. The devourer. But also the gatekeeper. The one who gives riddles that must be solved, who sends heroes on impossible tasks, who holds the knowledge no saint or king dares to seek. She punishes the foolish and rewards the brave. She is horror and salvation in the same breath. And the artists, oh, the artists knew her well. Vasnetsov painted her in sweeping strokes of menace, her house standing on its crooked, clawed legs, her mortar and pestle grinding down the sky itself. Bilibin wove her into his intricate, twisting designs, his lines curling like the edges of an old spell. In every piece, she stares. Watching. Judging. Waiting. The ink dries, but she is not still. She shifts. She changes. In modern stories, she does not fade. She creeps between the pages of new books, slithers into fresh nightmares. She is reimagined, reshaped, but never erased. She waits in the dark corners of Slavic fantasy, in the whispers of eerie fairy tales, in the uneasy questions of those who still fear the woods. She does not die. She does not fade. The candle gutters. The ink cools. The name is written. And somewhere, far beyond the reach of light, she smiles. The film reel clatters, spinning through the projector's ancient gears. Dust floats in the beam of flickering light, the shadows stretching like restless ghosts against the peeling walls. Then, static crackles, a low hum rising like a heartbeat. And there she is. Baba Yaga. Her face, carved from nightmares, leers from the screen. Eyes sunken, black as the void, gleaming with secrets no mortal should know. A hooked nose juts forward, a bird's beak, sniffing, tasting fear. Her mouth twists, lips barely concealing jagged teeth, yellowed with time, with hunger. A shrill laugh slashes through the silence, and the children watching in the darkened theater grip their seats, breath caught in their throats. She was not meant to survive in a world of Soviet rationality, in an era where science and steel were worshipped like gods. And yet, she endured. She slipped through cracks in the ideology, seeped into the reels of old fairy tale films, crept into bedtime stories, her long, gnarled fingers curling around the edges of a society desperate to tame her. The Soviet Union wanted control. Over history, over destiny, over every word that reached the ears of its people. Myths were rewritten, legends stripped of their teeth, softened, reshaped to serve a new master. Baba Yaga was not spared. No longer the wild, unpredictable force lurking at the edge of the Slavic world, she was tamed. Turned into an old crone, a comic menace, a grotesque grandmother to amuse rather than terrify. She still lived in her chicken-legged hut, still flew through the night in her mortar and pestle, but she was no longer the gatekeeper of wisdom, no longer the devourer of the weak. She became a joke. On the screens of Soviet children's films, she screeched and fumbled, her long nose wobbling as she plotted against bright-eyed heroes who always outsmarted her. She raged, she failed, she became the fool. She was stripped of her fangs, her darkness, her power. A shadow of what she once was. And yet, behind the laughter, something remained. A whisper, a flicker, an echo of the old terror. The forest still stretched beyond the edges of Soviet cities, their depths unknowable, their silence ancient. The story still slithered through the cracks of official doctrine, whispered in the dead of night. Grandmothers still spat over their shoulders when speaking of her, still lowered their voices, as if afraid she might hear. Baba Yaga was not forgotten. When the Soviet Union crumbled, when its statues fell and its banners burned, she returned. The fear crept back into her bones, the hunger into her eyes. She rose again, reborn in the pages of new books, in the frames of new films, in the nightmares of a world that no longer tried to erase her. Now she is watching, waiting, as if she always knew the joke would end. As if she was never truly tamed. And in the dark, the film reel clatters to a stop. The fire flickers, casting long shadows against the gnarled trees. The air is thick with the scent of damp earth, burning herbs, something ancient that lingers between the folds of the night. A circle is drawn, not with chalk, not with paint, but with whispers, silent invocations carried by the wind. Somewhere beyond the flickering light, something listens. They have called her name. Baba Yaga. She is no fairy tale. No child's bedtime horror. No cackling witch doomed to be outwitted by heroes with shining swords. No, she is older than the stories, older than the words used to name her. Her bones are buried beneath the roots of the oldest trees. Her breath is the storm that bends them. And now, they want her back. The world has changed. Once, men in iron and crosses tried to strip her of her power, shoving her into the shadows of old Slavic folklore, cursing her name as if it could be burned away. Later, the Soviets turned her into a joke, a stumbling crone with no real bite. But now, in the silence of forgotten places, in the minds of those who still feel the pulse of the earth, she is stirring again. They are lighting candles for her. They are whispering to her in the dark. The witches, the wise women, the seekers, they reach for her with hands trembling from something they cannot name. They do not ask her for kindness. They do not beg her for love. They ask for power. Baba Yaga is no gentle goddess. She does not cradle or comfort. She does not promise warmth. She is the old crone at the edge of the forest, the voice in the wind that dares you to step beyond what you know. She does not give freely, she tests. She strips you to your marrow, peels the softness from your soul, forces you to stand, naked and raw, before the darkness of your own being. And only if you survive her will you understand what she has given. They say she is the keeper of the liminal space, the threshold between what was and what could be. In the old days, she was the guardian of knowledge, the mistress of death and rebirth. And now, in the cold light of modern paganism, she is that once more. They call to her in the wild. They build altars with bones and black feathers, with red thread tied in knots too tight to undo. They burn offerings, meat, bread, vodka poured onto the earth with trembling hands. They look for signs in the crows that gather, in the sudden hush of the wind, in the way the fire crackles as if something just walked past. She is not safe. She is not tame. Some come to her expecting mercy. They leave empty, broken, remade. Some come looking for destruction. They leave knowing they were never truly alive before she showed them their own face. And some never leave at all. The fire burns lower. The trees whisper. The night watches. And somewhere, in the dark, Baba Yaga is smiling. A house stands on chicken legs, swaying, groaning, shifting in the mist. The door is shut, the windows dark. It does not welcome. It does not need to. It knows you are here. The earth beneath your feet pulses, the roots twisting just beneath the surface, waiting. The wind carries a whisper, a voice ancient and sharp, a promise and a threat woven into a single breath. She is watching. Baba Yaga does not belong to one world. She steps between them, slipping from myth to modern nightmare, threading herself through time, through stories, through screens flickering in the dead of night. She never dies. She only waits. A hulking demon stands in the frozen dark, crimson skin burning against the cold. Hellboy. He moves forward, boots crunching on brittle snow, breath heavy in the air. The trees are too silent. The shadows, too still. He knows what waits for him. The stories say she is a crone, bent and withered, but what stands before him is something worse. Eyes that do not blink, hands that do not tremble, teeth sharpened by centuries of hunger. Baba Yaga does not care for heroes. She only cares for the price. Elsewhere, a man steps into a room, his face stone, his voice quiet. John Wick. The name is whispered in the underworld like a death sentence. But there is another name, one that lingers behind his like a shadow. Baba Yaga. They call him her, though they do not know what they say. They speak of him as the boogeyman, the unstoppable force, the legend that drags itself from the dark to settle the score. But she is something worse than a legend. She does not take revenge. She does not hunt. She simply is. And the world bends to her presence. In another time, in another world, the white wolf walks through a swamp thick with rot and ruin. The Witcher. Geralt has fought beasts, torn through monsters that would send lesser men running. But this is different. The hut looms, breathing, alive in a way that things of wood and nails should not be. The air tastes wrong. His fingers flex on the hilt of his sword, but steel will not save him here. Baba Yaga has no use for warriors. She is not a monster to be slain. She is a force to be endured. She is everywhere. She slips through folklore into film, through whispers into blood-soaked contracts, through ancient woods into the digital abyss of modern horror. She changes, but never weakens. She is the crooked fingers of the witch, the crawling dread in pathologic, the unseen force behind the nightmares of the world. Some call her an old woman, some a shadow, some a name to be feared. But all who speak of her know one thing. She is waiting. And she always comes. A candle flickers in the darkness, its flame fragile, barely holding against the breath of something unseen. The air thickens. The shadows shift. A house stands on bones, its crooked windows like watching eyes. The trees lean in, their twisted limbs reaching, creaking, whispering secrets only the dead should know. Something moves inside the house. A footstep. Slow. Deliberate. The door swings open, not with a creak, not with a groan, but with silence, a quiet so absolute it swallows the air, smothers the sound, smothers everything. She is there. Baba Yaga does not need introductions. She has been waiting in the pages, watching from the margins, slipping her fingers through ink and time. She is in every witch, every crone, every lurking presence that smells of rot and wisdom. Western stories think they made her, sculpted her into their own idea of horror, of magic, of power. But she was already there, long before the ink touched the parchment. She grins from the twisted tales of the brothers Grimm, the sharp edges of their witches owing their hunger to her ancient appetite. She whispers in the cackle of Macbeth's hags, their chants of fate nothing but echoes of her laughter, their bubbling cauldrons a pale imitation of her unknowable craft. She stalks through the words of Angela Carter, slipping between shadows in twisted fairy tales that refuse to be gentle. She is in the fairy godmother's absence, the warning behind every dark forest, the reason why some children never return. She does not care for your spells, your wants, your circles of salt and muttered Latin. Magic in the West is order, willed into being through knowledge and discipline. Baba Yaga is not order. She is chaos wrapped in bones and hunger. She does not grant power. She does not bestow gifts. She takes. She tests. She devours. The Western witch is old, her spine curved beneath centuries of suspicion. She lurks in fairy tales, her house a gingerbread trap, her hands clawed, her back bent. They burned her at stakes, drowned her in rivers, crushed her beneath their fear. But Baba Yaga never burned. She never begged. She never wept at the feet of frightened men. They could not catch her. Could not hold her. Could not define her. And so she spread. She watches from the crooked grin of the White Witch of Narnia, her cold beauty a lie that barely conceals the hunger beneath. She speaks in the riddles of Gaiman's Lilith, her presence thick in the spaces where reason breaks. She waits in the pages of modern fantasy, reborn in the twisted spines of books that bleed folklore into fiction. She does not belong to one world. She does not belong at all. She simply is. And she is waiting. The firelight flickers, casting shadows that twist and stretch like hungry fingers across the walls of her house. The wind howls through the trees outside, their skeletal branches scratching at the sky, begging for mercy. There is none. Not here. Not in her domain. She sits by the hearth, a shape bent but unbroken, wrapped in rags that whisper of centuries. Her nails, blackened like scorched wood, tap against the arm of her chair. Waiting. Always waiting. The stories call her monster, crone, beast. They say she devours the weak. They do not understand. She has never belonged to them. They have tried to contain her. Turned her into a warning, a shadow lurking in the corners of folklore. A thing to be feared, whispered about in trembling voices. They burned the witches, called them wicked, called them wrong. But Baba Yaga? She never burned. She was never tied to the stake, never drowned, never silenced beneath the weight of a man's law. She never bowed. She is rage that does not beg for understanding. She is power that does not need permission. And they hate her for it. The Western world took witches and broke them down, made them into twisted, shrieking things, desperate for revenge, ugly in their hunger. Baba Yaga does not seek vengeance. She does not care for their pity. She does not need to be beautiful to be feared. She simply is. Women were meant to be soft, obedient, grateful. But Baba Yaga lives alone in the dark, her house spinning on bones, her laugh a thing of cracked earth and snapping fire. No husband to own her. No child to demand her. She is hers, and hers alone. They have tried to reclaim her. Made her into a symbol, a goddess, a thing to be worshipped. Fools. She has never needed their approval. They dress her up in modern words, feminist, icon, archetype, as if she would care for their names. She has never needed names. The ones who seek her do not come for comfort. They come to be tested. She does not grant wishes. She does not cradle them with motherly warmth. She asks questions, and gods help those who do not answer wisely. She does not punish without cause, but she does not forgive stupidity. The world has softened, but she remains sharp, her teeth bared against the foolish and the weak. They call her cruel. They do not understand. She is the rage of the forgotten, the freedom of the untamed, the power of a woman who owes nothing to anyone. And she is waiting. The air is thick with the scent of earth and decay, damp leaves curling like skeletal fingers around the edges of her crooked path. The trees know her name. They whisper it through the wind, rustling in uneasy reverence as she moves through the tangled forest, her gnarled hands trailing over moss and bark. Somewhere, a raven cries, a warning, or a welcome. She stops. Beneath the ancient roots of an oak, something grows in the dark. Something rare. Something powerful. Her fingers close around the stem, careful, reverent. This is no ordinary plant. This is life. This is death. She knows the weight of both. They have called her a witch, a monster, a thing to be feared. And yet, when the fever grips a child, when a man coughs blood into trembling hands, they come to her door. They come begging. She does not smile. She does not soothe. She grinds leaves between her teeth, tasting their secrets, measuring life in pinches and drops. The foolish think that healing is kindness, that medicine is mercy. It is neither. It is power, and power must be wielded with wisdom. One root can cure. One root can kill. And she alone decides which fate will be given. The villagers speak her name in hushed tones, their hands clutch to their chests as they mutter prayers to saints who do not listen. They call her Baba Yaga, the old one, the wise one, the one who straddles the veil between this world and whatever waits beyond. They think she does not hear them. But she does. She hears the mothers wailing at their cradles, the men groaning in their sickbeds, the whispered arguments over whether she is savior or sorceress. They fear her, but they need her. And need is a powerful thing. She has seen what happens when that need turns to desperation. When the hunters storm through the forest, their blades slick with the blood of wolves, their voices thick with curses. She has felt the flames licking at her doorstep, smelled the acrid scent of burning sage meant to ward her away. But she is no spirit to be exorcised. No fragile thing to be banished. She remains. And the forest remains with her. Her knowledge is older than their churches, older than their books, older than the bones buried beneath their fields. She learned from the roots and the rivers, from the wind and the moon. She knows which berries will still a racing heart and which will stop it forever. She knows the secret poisons that hide in beauty, the petals that can burn through veins like wildfire. She is not a healer. She is balance. They do not come to her out of love. They come because their crops have withered, their children have weakened, their prayers have failed. They kneel, these same men who once sharpened their knives, and they beg. And she listens. Not because she is merciful. Not because she is kind. But because the forest does not forget. And neither does she. The wind wails through the trees, bending them like supplicants before an unseen god. Shadows stretch long and thin across the frozen ground, reaching, grasping. A cottage looms ahead, its crooked walls shifting like a living thing, its bones of wood and thatch creaking under the weight of time. It waits. It has always waited. A single lantern sways in the night, casting its flickering glow onto a figure barely more than a shadow herself. Her breath coils in the air, vanishing before it can touch the ground. She watches. She is always watching. They whisper that she is ancient, older than kings, older than stone. That she has seen empires rise and rot, seen men break themselves against the weight of their own hubris. She has lived through fire and famine, through war and betrayal, through the slow, creeping sickness of forgetting. But they have not forgotten her. Her name lingers in the dark corners of the world, passed from trembling lips to eager ears. It curls through nursery rhymes, its edges softened but never dulled. It drips from old tongues in candlelit rooms, warning, beckoning. Baba Yaga. They do not know what she is. Witch. Demon. Goddess. Fate itself, wrapped in rags and ruin. She is all of them. She is none of them. She is more. They have tried to bury her beneath logic, beneath new gods and new laws, beneath the brittle certainties of the modern world. But she does not rot. She does not fade. She waits in the bones of old forests, in the hush of forgotten places, in the spaces between fear and reverence. Children hear her in the rustling leaves, in the howling wind outside their windows. The lost and the desperate feel her presence in the chill that raises the hairs on their arms. She does not need temples. She does not need prayers. She endures. Because fear endures. Because power endures. Because there will always be those who stand at the edge of the world, their hearts hammering, their throats dry, wondering if they are about to be granted a blessing or a curse. And Baba Yaga will decide. The ink drips thick onto the page, curling into letters that carry whispers of something older than words. A name takes shape, a present stirring beneath each syllable. The writer's hand trembles, but they do not stop. They cannot stop. Some stories do not wait to be told. They demand it. Baba Yaga has slipped through time, through folklore, through trembling lips in firelit rooms. Now she seeps into new stories, her bones reshaped, her voice sharpened. The myths of old are restless, clawing their way into the hands of those who still listen. And there are those who do. The authors who write her do not simply tell a tale. They summon her. In ink and blood, in fear and wonder, she is reborn, again and again. They mold her from shadows and bone, from prophecy and nightmare, from the hunger that lingers at the edge of every child's whispered warning. They do not simply resurrect her. They let her evolve. Some make her monstrous, a spectre of talons and teeth, her presence a stain upon the land, a thing that watches from the dark and chooses when to strike. Others forge her into something new, a guardian, an outcast, an ancient force bound by neither kindness nor cruelty, but something far more terrifying, choice. She is not frozen in time, not a relic to be studied, not a husk of old fears. She shifts, she twists, she changes, slipping from the pages of history into the pages of the present. One writer gives her fire, a rebellion burning in her ribs, the defiance of a woman who has never bowed, never broken. Another makes her sorrowful, a creature cursed to remember when the world would have done better to forget. Yet another lets her be everything at once, witch, mother, executioner, savior. The pen scratches on, the ink spreads like veins, and still she rises. They do not own her. They never could. They can only write, only shape, only watch as she reminds them she was never theirs to control. She will always slip through the cracks, through the margins, through the spaces where nightmares take root. She is eternal. And she is waiting. The wind howls through the skeletal trees, a voice with no mouth, a presence with no body. It carries whispers, warnings, the hushed dread of those who know. The cabin waits, its crooked walls shifting, its chicken legs buried in the frozen ground. The bones of the lost are scattered like careless prayers, their hollow eyes still watching. She is inside. A gnarled hand hovers over the iron pot, steam curling like spirits grasping for something they will never hold again. The scent of herbs, damp earth, blood. The stirring does not stop. Her breath is steady. She has always waited. She has always known. They come to her, stumbling, weeping, defiant, terrified. The desperate. The foolish. The worthy. Some kneel before her, trembling, their voices strangled by fear. Others lift their chins, spit their curses, demand what they do not understand. Some think they have come for answers. Some think they have come for death. She does not give them either. She listens. She watches. She decides. The fire flickers, and in its glow, her face shifts, cruel, merciful, monstrous, divine. She is the specter that stalks childhood nightmares, the shadow that stretches long after the fire has burned to embers. She is hunger, merciless and gnawing. She is fury, unshackled and absolute. Mothers whisper her name in warning. Fathers build walls to keep her out. Yet, they come. Because she is also something else. Freedom. A door where there was none. A force that does not kneel, does not beg, does not yield. To face her is to face oneself. To beg is to fail. To command is to be consumed. But to stand, to prove that fear does not own you, that is when she leans closer, the terrible grin spreading, the hunger changing into something else. She does not gift freedom. She forces you to take it. Some leave stronger. Some leave broken. Some do not leave at all. And still, the wind howls. The cabin shifts. She is inside. Waiting. The trees close in, their twisted fingers clawing at the sky, stretching toward something unseen. The path beneath is not a path at all, only a suggestion, a whisper in the dirt. A place no one should be. A place where the air is too still, too thick, as if it has learned to wait. Something moves. Not seen, but felt. A shiver down the spine, a prickle at the nape of the neck. The instinct that hisses, leave. Now. But they don't. They never do. They step forward. Because fear does not always turn people away. Sometimes, it pulls them closer, hooks its claws into their ribs and drags them forward, breathless, aching, unable to look away. The house should not be standing. The bones it is built on should have crumbled. The wood should have rotted. But it does not. It breathes. The wind moans through its cracks like something alive, the skulls that line its fence grinning, hollow-eyed, always watching. And inside, she waits. Baba Yaga. She has always been there. Before fire was stolen. Before gods had names. Before stories learned to crawl from the mouths of the living. She is the dark space between knowing and unknowing. The place where things vanish, where names are swallowed, where questions are met with silence. She is what waits beyond the edge of the map, beyond the safe glow of the hearth. They fear her. And they are drawn to her. Because she is the one thing they will never understand. They call her monster, but monsters have rules. They call her witch, but witches can be burned. They call her old, but age does not touch her, time does not drag her forward as it does the rest. She is outside of it. Outside of reason. Outside of sense. That is why they fear her. That is why they come. They come with trembling hands, with silent prayers, with names they do not know she already knows. They come with foolish bargains, with desperate offerings, hoping that the unknowable can be tamed. It cannot. They cannot. The house shifts, the skulls grin wider, the wind laughs through the trees. And still, they step forward. The fire is dying. Shadows stretch long and thin against the walls, curling in the corners, whispering where the light cannot reach. The old woman sits, her hands knotted like tree roots, her breath slow, steady, the air thick with something unspoken. A girl kneels before her, heart hammering, hands clutching a meager offering, bread, cheese, a trembling hope that it will be enough. It won't. Baba Yaga does not barter with hunger. She does not trade in kindness. She does not offer comfort wrapped in gentle words. She teaches. But her lessons are not soft things, not kind hands guiding lost children toward safety. They cut. They burn. They peel back the skin and show what lies beneath, truth, raw and glistening. The girl does not move. She knows better. There are rules here, rules that do not care for pleading eyes or innocence. She has heard the stories. She has listened. She speaks carefully. No wasted words. No foolish pride. Baba Yaga watches. Then she laughs, low and rolling, like thunder too far away to flee from. Go, she says. Find my needle in the haystack. Count the grains of sand in my hand. Clean my house until it shines with the light of the moon. Impossible tasks. She does not argue. She does not cry. She acts. Because that is the first lesson. The world does not care if the task is impossible. It only asks if you will try. The girl moves, searching, scraping, the wind hissing through the gaps in the walls, the fire crackling in bursts of laughter. Hours slip through her fingers like sand. She does not stop. She does not break. And the house sees. The wind shifts. The mice stir. The trees outside lean just so. Help comes, but not without a cost. The second lesson. Nothing is given freely. Not kindness. Not cruelty. Not the cold hand that guides, not the sharp teeth that bite. Every action tips the scale, every choice pulls the string. The girl listens to the whispers in the floorboards, gathers what she needs, and returns. The old woman nods once, just enough for the bones in her neck to creak. Eat, she says. The food is steaming, rich, too much, too tempting. But hunger is not an excuse. The third lesson. Do not take what is not yours. The girl waits. Baba Yaga smiles. Not warm. Never warm. But something close. The fire flares. The wind howls. The night stretches its fingers toward morning. The girl will leave. But she will never be the same. The wind carries the scent of damp earth and decay. Somewhere beyond the trees, a voice hums, low, rasping, ancient. It slithers through the branches, curling around gnarled roots, stretching toward the sky like a breath exhaled from a mouth unseen. She is there. A house with chicken legs looms in the clearing, shifting, restless, waiting. Smoke curls from a crooked chimney, thick and dark, choking the sky. Bones, small and brittle, large and splintered, press into the ground, forming a path only the foolish would walk. The door creaks open. Not from the wind. Not by chance. Inside, she waits. Baba Yaga, the crone, the devourer, the keeper of wisdom bound in iron teeth and sharpened gaze. But she is not alone in the shadows of myth. Others whisper her name in different tongues, different lands. They move between stories, faceless and eternal, stepping into nightmares when the fire burns low. Hecate walks in the crossroads, three faces shifting in the moonlight. She does not guide, she watches, silent, knowing. Her torches flicker, and the lost are left to choose their own doom. Baba Yaga laughs at this. A crossroads is mercy. A house with legs, turning, never still? That is fate's cruelty made real. The Morrigan perches on the battlefield, black wings drenched in blood, whispering the names of the dead before their bodies are cold. She does not kill, she promises. Baba Yaga respects this. Death is easy. Knowing it's coming and still marching forward? That is power. The Kaliach stirs the storm, her breath turning warm lands into wastelands. Winter bows to her, the ice her throne. Baba Yaga feels this kinship. Not in the cold, but in the way the world fears the old woman's hands, knowing they hold both destruction and truth. And then there are those who burn. The witches whose screams split the night as flames lick their flesh. Those who knew too much. Those who spoke too freely. Baba Yaga does not pity them, she remembers. Because she does not beg. She does not kneel. She does not ask for forgiveness in a world that punishes women who know too much. A log shifts in the fire. Sparks snap, rise, die. She grins, her teeth glinting in the firelight. A gust of wind claws at the trees, bending their spines, whispering through hollow places where nothing living dares to dwell. The fire burns low. The embers pulse like a dying heart. Somewhere, beyond the reach of the light, a chuckle rises, thin at first, barely a breath, then thick with something that does not belong to the world of men. It is laughter. Dry as autumn leaves crushed beneath an iron boot. Sharp as the bones buried beneath forgotten paths. It lingers, stretching between the shadows, curling at the edges of the silence. It knows. It always knows. Baba Yaga laughs. She has seen them come and go, the kings, the fools, the saints, the cowards. They raise their palaces and carve their names into the flesh of the earth, believing they are more than dust. They pass laws. They write histories. They whisper prayers to gods who do not answer. And still, she waits. They feared her then. They fear her now. But the fear has changed. Once, they feared her teeth, her hunger, her house with its restless, clawed feet. Now, they fear her shadow in another way. Not as a monster lurking in the woods, but as something they cannot break. They burn witches, but they cannot burn her. They bury wisdom, but her bones refuse to rot. They silence voices, but hers still sings through the cracks. She does not belong to their neat, civilized world. She never has. She is chaos, hunger, rage, the wild thing that refuses to be tamed. Once, frightened girls were warned not to seek her out. But now? Now they come knocking on her crooked door. Not as victims. Not as sacrifices. But as those who refuse to be swallowed whole by the world that would rather see them small. She grins, all teeth, all shadow, all flame. The fire sputters. The house shudders. The laughter does not stop. It never will.